Hi, my name is Alex, and in this session we'll discuss how to use the pivot recipe to reshape datasets. Reshaping from long to wide format moves values that were stacked within a column into several columns. In this example, the input dataset has a separate row for each order. We have reshaped it so that individual customers identify rows in the output dataset. Values of orders within each customer identify columns. The cells of the output dataset contain the individual values of amount. Now let's look at a live project. Our scenario starts with the dataset representing a retail company's enriched order log. We want to reorganize this data so that each row represents a single customer and each column represents the value of each order made by that customer. In the flow, I'll select the enriched orders dataset. This opens a menu of visual recipes on the right, from which I'll select Pivot. This opens the recipe creation dialog, and we'll select order number as the column to pivot by. Optionally, we can give the output dataset a more descriptive name, or change the output storage location. Then click Create Recipe. This adds the pivot recipe to the flow and brings you to the recipe's pivot step. The pivot recipe will create a new column for each distinct value of order number. With customer ID as the row identifier, the output dataset will have a single row for each customer. Now we'll choose to populate content with total. We'll change the aggregation statistic to first. Since each combination of customer and order number is unique, it shouldn't matter whether we use first, last, min, max, sum, or average as the aggregation method. Then deselect Count of Records. Other steps provide additional options for refining the input and output of the recipe. Filters allows you to keep or drop rows based on your criteria. Computed columns allows you to create new columns based on SQL or DSS compute syntax. Other columns allows you to retain values that you don't want to pivot but want to keep. Finally, let's look at the output step. This gives you a chance to review the columns of the output dataset and their storage types. The pivot recipe needs to be run once to gather the unique values of the pivoted order number column, so save and run your query. You can see the details of the job and explore the output dataset. The output dataset has the orders as column headers. Now let's go back to the parent pivot recipe, where we can see the list of orders in the output step. Since recompute schema at each run is not checked, as customers make orders beyond the current maximum of 12, this pivot recipe will not automatically add a new column, and any orders beyond the 12th for a given customer will be ignored. Note that you can set the engine that will be used at runtime. Here we are running in SQL. When running in an SQL or Spark engine, you can view the join query underlying the recipe and even convert it into a code recipe that you can further customize. The precise SQL code is made available after the pivot recipe has been run once to gather the unique value of the pivoted orders column. And it uses nested subqueries and a group by to pivot the values. Finally, we can go back to the flow and see how the flow has been extended to include the new recipe and dataset. Thanks for watching. To learn more about our visual recipes, see other entries in this series and learning resources on our website.